I have been blessed with an elite, absolutely elite sense of smell. You look like, members of the Blue Man Group.
Alcohol is the killer to sports performance.
Who gives a shit, right? Like, let's go, you know? The 4 days that I ask you to go, you better be ready to go.
Did you guys just leave the bar, or like, what's the deal? Because like, you guys smell. It's coming out of you fresh.
Man, you are weak as a kitten, or weak as the wet fart in an astronaut suit, right?
Yep. We have such an incredible guest and such an incredible show that we had to break this up into two parts. So Joe Connolly back in action for the second part of his episode.
And I'll tell you what, man, like we talked about just a second ago with Dakota, I mean, we had Nikki E just dominate the combine. Coach Joe, that's what he kind of does. I mean, he did your pro day and combine training, so I think it's a pretty good little mix up. It worked out well.
I obliterated it. Was only 20% body fat. I ran high 4.8s. Barely jumped 30 inches. So yeah, Nikki, watch out, bro. But no, this episode's cool. I mean, I'd say this is more hyper focused towards high school coaches, strength coaches, like middle school coaches, kind of everything, because it really dives into kind of the mental side of things, the physical side of things, kind of Coach Joe's philosophy of training, how he's adapted with times. I mean, sports science nowadays is absolutely absurd. And he's done an incredible job of changing with the times, but also like keeping the fundamentals and everything that has proved the test of time, he still has implemented in his program. So I think this is a huge one for anybody who likes sports, anybody who likes kind of the sports science world, development of athletes. This is going to be an episode for you.
Yeah, and I mean, even listening to it, just hearing him talk, it was night and day different than when we were there, playing for him. He was just, lift a bunch of heavy weight. Now it's kind of resistance, rotational stuff, and I mean, that was pretty cool to be a part of.
It is like so surprising to me. Like you look at all these strength coaches throughout college, NFL, even high school. Like these dudes are yoked. They're like completely rocked up, look like complete meatheads, but they're really, really smart, analytical. Like dive into the numbers, data research, which has just been fascinating because like when you're in the midst of training. Like you don't think about the person that's training you like that. You think of them as just like a drill sergeant, a technician. But all the hours of school that go into it, all the kind of all the certificates, all the certifications, everything that goes into it is it's a lot of time and energy. That's why these people are so sharp, and I think that's why these athletes are evolving over time.
I mean, it is the whole sports science thing is mind blowing.
Yeah, I mean. I think you and I are under the mindset of like kind of just put your head down and go to work. And if you feel like shit, you still got to go to work. But with all the data points from an injury prevention and all that stuff, it's a good thing to have.
Yep.
So I think everyone's going to really enjoy the second episode of Coach Joe Connolly, the 2024 strength coach. College Strength Coach of the Year. So y'all enjoy this episode.
Home Team Barbecue is fired up to take care of your tailgate and watch party needs this season. Home Team is known for its smoked meats, creative daily specials, and twists on Southern classic. Smoked wings, ribs, pulled pork sliders, barbecue nachos, or classic sides like mac and cheese and collard greens are the perfect feast to fuel your game day. Round up your friends and give Home Team Catering a shout at catering@hometeambarbecue.com or head to 5 Points for a frozen game changer cocktail and barbecue snacks to celebrate the next Gamecock's big win. Visit hometeambarbecue.com to check out the menu. Looking for the perfect spot to unwind? Steel Hand Brewing in Casey has you covered. Whether you're craving a refreshing craft beer or just a great time with friends and family, Steel Hands has it all. With a variety of craft beers, spacious outdoor beer gardens, and a delicious food menu, there's something for everyone. Plus, join them for free live music every Thursday through Sunday. Visit steelhandsbrewing.com to see their lineup of upcoming events or host your own. Handforce and Casey and voted best local brewery again this year. Go visit steelhandsbrewing.com.
All right, you carnivores, we got a new sponsor, JCQ Farms, located off 177 Saluda Bluff Road in Batesburg, South Carolina. Huge Gamecock family, folks. So they have grass-fed beef, pasture-raised pork, and they have absolutely no antibiotics, no hormones, and all of the animals are treated humanely. They also practice regenerative farming. Right now, their top sellers are tomahawk ribeyes, cowboy ribeyes, fillets, bacon, and this primal ground beef mixture. It's heart, liver, and beef mix. If you're going to get any sort of meat, get it from here, folks.
Let's kind of get into your like philosophy of strength and conditioning. I mean, you've been in it for almost 20 years now. How has it evolved? How has it changed? I mean, I'm a creature of if it's not broke, don't fix it. But there's also ways to adapt and make it better. So speak on some of those.
Yeah, I think the biggest changes over the last 20 years is the incorporation of technology into training. And I think personally for us, we have a really good sort of combination of old school training methodologies and allowing technology to make sure that you're driving the right stimulus. Really, at the end of the day, you have to have your plan and the stimulus that you want to create at a given time. You have to make sure that that stimulus is being created, meaning like, all right, this phase, we want to get bigger, right? We want hypertrophy. Okay. More muscle. How are we testing that? How are we retesting that? What's the training look like? We want more strength. Okay. What does that strength look like? How are we getting it? And then power, right? Rate of force development. How do we incorporate that into training and use technology to help drive some of the decision making? For me, at the end of the day, go ahead.
Are you guys using the catapult like brawl looking thing?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
You and I could use those not for the actual tracking, but to hold our man boobs up a little bit.
Yeah, you can put one on now. They have them for individuals now. You guys remember we actually were one of the first programs in the country to have catapult. Yeah, I remember you guys were like, "I'm not putting that shit on." Like, you want me to wear that? It's a sports bra. I'm like, listen. And we used to have to call Australia on the phone because it was Australian technology. You'd have to call Australia on the phone. We're collecting all this data. We had no idea what to do with it. And now
we're supposed to do this.
Yeah. Like now it's pretty commonplace,
It's unbelievable. Joe, I was up in Delaware, University of Delaware, running a quarterback camp with Rich Gannon and Joe Flacco. Is actually really cool. But so I'm kind of doing like the tour of the facilities and everything. All the guys have the catapult on and they got all the trainers and they got the iPad. They're like, Matt, all right, so you reach this level, this, all right, you're done for the day. You're good. Hey, you only get 15 miles an hour. You got to get 2 more miles per hour, then you're done. And I'm like, this is freaking nuts.
Yeah, it's all live.
It's all live. You track everything. It was pretty wild.
Yeah, we live track every training session, every practice. I think Coach Dillingham does a really good job of using the data to drive decision making and allowing us to kind of make those, whether it's return to play post injury or whether it's a high workload guy multiple days in a row, and then kind of seamlessly making sure that we're hitting the markers we want to hit at a given time. Every one of our players, especially our starters, has to hit 90% max velocity every week. And whether they do that in practice or whether we facilitate it before practice, it's really irrelevant as long as they do it. We utilize force plates and velocity-based training, and we have compression shorts with EMG muscle activation sensors on it. We have
that's nuts.
We have all sorts of different tools, but at the end of the day, I will not let a data point or numbers affect the culture of training. And I think that's the difference in that I'll ask, our one of our assistants runs all the sports science stuff, and I'll be like, okay, where are we at? And he's like, well, we're at this. I'm like, well, we can't get it right. So take your number and throw it out the window because we got to get it right. There's a time and a place for all that.
For sure.
And all our guys have access to so many different things now, whether it be, a Garmin watch or a Whoop strap or the recovery.
They have like little rings and shit. They have now.
Yep, all that stuff. And I'm always a skeptic until I sort of try it and test it on myself and figure out whether I like the data, how it fits within our system. Does it sort of flow within our system? How are we going to use the data? We got 1080 sprints, which is essentially like resisted sprinting, but tailored to the individual. So the days are like just, hooking a tire on or a chain and doing sprints
Yeah.
and everybody's doing the same weight. Like that's gone. Like you have a tailored weight for you as an individual based on the numbers. All that stuff is sort of the change, but again, it can't negatively affect the semantics of the training session to me. One guy might be doing a squat that's a little bit different than another guy, but at least everybody's squatting, everybody's on the same page, right? So there's a lot more individuality in the programming, even than a few years ago.
One thing I didn't hear him mention is the regeneration suit. Do you remember when we had those damn things?
Yes.
No.
The compression long sleeve,
Yeah.
long pants.
Oh
socks.
yeah.
Under Armour-
Because Under Armour made them.
Under Armour
Yeah.
came out with those, and
Those were flattering on Steven and I. Thanks for putting
Those
those
are
on.
brutal.
I mean, you look like members of the Blue Man Group,
Yeah.
It was so we still have those. We travel. So anytime we get on a plane, we travel in compressions. A lot of our guys, we have compression socks and compression tights. We don't have the tops, sort of, thank God, but it's that stuff does work, and the different fabrics that you use, when you sleep. I know sort of Tom Brady and TB12 kind of came out with their own sleep garments, right? That are made of specific fabrics. Like you don't want polyesters, you want to be in cotton,
Right.
all this different, all these different things are. The way I look at it is it's our job to stay on the cutting edge of the most recent stuff and then be able to convey that information to our players.
Yep.
Yeah.
No, I mean, I remember my time in Buffalo. Like, I feel like when I was in Atlanta, it was very college type. I mean, we had the catapults, we had that stuff, but we weren't doing much force plate. We weren't doing much tendo, a little bit. But then when you got to Buffalo, like everything was, like we're testing force plate probably every month to see where you're at. We're testing groin squeezes. Like, they have the little thing out when you're doing mobility to find out where your hip mobility is, why you're not having this, why you're not having that, having corrective exercises to offset that stuff. I mean, it really, as an older player, like, when you're young, you can just grind. Like, it's like, yeah, I might not move 500 pounds as fast as you want me to, but I guarantee that some of the bitch is getting up. And then as you get older, you're like, yeah, I don't know if I'll get up with 500 pounds. Let's go back to the velocity-based training methods now, so you don't kill me. So it is fascinating, the world of strength and conditioning and sports performance. It's incredible.
I mean, it's changed drastically. Joe, what do you think on that? Just in the last 5 years, it's just changed completely
I think there's
with the technology and all that.
There's just a lot more options, and at the end of the day, the goals are still the same, right? How do you best prepare the athlete for the given task at hand, whatever that sport is? And a lot of the technology just helps reaffirm or, change decision-making processes along the way for what to do and how to do it. And it's actually a really, for me, it's a confidence thing, right? Where I know exactly what I'm looking to get accomplished. And then the technology just reaffirms the fact that, yes, we are getting that thing accomplished. It also allows the coaches to see progress in a lot of different ways. So, back in your day, what do we look at? We looked at 40, vertical, broad, 5-10-5, clean squat bench, right?
Yep.
And now, to your point, Pat, you get an older athlete that's been with you for 3 or 4 years. Is it really necessary to, shoot, I know some strength coaches that get fired because a senior didn't go up 5 pounds in a back squat. To me, that's ridiculous.
Yeah.
At the end of the day,
crazy.
If his rate of force development is higher, then he's a better athlete, right? So there's so many different metrics you can look at to help continue to drive improvement in a lot of different ways, not just sort of the old school number ways.
Yeah, I was. I mean, the NFLPA did a partnership with Whoop. I mean, they like. I want to say we were like the first trial, and I had a Whoop for 7 years during my playing time. So I think I got it in like 2013 or 2014, and I loved it. It became a little bit like religious to me, and like it did play mind games with me of like, you know, I felt like I slept good, and I wake up and my recovery score shit, and I'm like, wait, I feel great. Am I not supposed to feel great? What's going on with my body system?
Yeah.
And I remember, I mean, like Apple Watch, Whoop, Oura Ring, like it became almost like a little possessive.
Yeah.
And like I'm sitting there and I'm like, I'm gonna die of cancer with all the radiation that's coming off of me.
You got Bluetooth going through you. Yeah.
Right now, but like so now but it is fascinating the data you can collect, your REM sleep, your deep sleep, your rapid eye movement. I mean, all that stuff was fascinating, and it is pretty spot on. I mean, like what I realized, and Steven, I think you know this, but like alcohol is the killer to sports performance. Like
sleep, certainly.
You drink 1 or 2 beers, and what it does to your system is like, I mean, it's fascinating.
I mean, how else do you play golf? It definitely helps. It definitely helps you play golf.
Just play early.
Golf's not a sport.
Yeah.
Golf's not a sport. It's a hobby.
Yeah.
Now a word from our sponsor, Tony Pope at State Farm. Switching is easy. We do it all the time. We switch on the lights, we switch the TV channels, and some of us switch partners while square dancing. Well, that's a stretch. But what's not a stretch is how you can switch and save with State Farm. In fact, State Farm agent Tony Pope, right here in South Carolina, can switch you over so you can start saving today. Tony and his team are ready to welcome you to the State Farm neighborhood. With Tony Pope, it's easy to switch and save. Just give him a call at 843-851-2222 or visit tonypope.com. When you want the real deal, like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. We are proud to be sponsored by our buddies David Marshall and Shane Burrows and their law firm Lanier & Burrows. These guys are Gamecocks from undergrad through law school, and they bleed garnet and black. They practice all across South Carolina, helping people and families who have been injured or killed in car accidents, trucking accidents, work accidents, medical malpractice, nursing home negligence, basically any type of incident. Unfortunately, though, for Stephen, they don't really handle all that criminal stuff. If you or someone you know was injured, let Shane and David investigate it at no cost to you. They will get you answers and will let you know if they can help. They only get paid if they get you a recovery. Give Lanier & Burrows Law Firm a call at 803-268-9800. Gamecock fans, if you want to look your best, go swing by Granger Owings on Main Street or in the Trenton Plaza. Granger Owings strives to deliver the best-in-class customer service paired with the finest fashion. Their stylists truly cater to each customer, starting with a personalized consultation every time, and help each individual build a wardrobe based on their lifestyle needs, occasions, and preferences. At Granger Owings, you will find the latest from classic, up-and-coming, designer brands of clothing and shoes for men and women. From business attire to custom clothing to sportswear, weekend wear, and formal wear. They dress their customers for every occasion.
No, all that stuff, it can get overwhelming. And I sort of went down a similar rabbit hole for a while. And then, you know, ultimately I kind of went back to like, if my Garmin watch tells me that I didn't sleep good, like I'll just shut it off. Like, I still need to do what I need to do at the end of the day. Yep. And like, I also think too, if you're just solely, you know, using an algorithm to determine how you feel, that's a problem, right? You kind of lose sight of the intuition, and you also lose sight of like, hey man, maybe I didn't sleep real good last night. Well, guess what? Like you don't have a choice to go out and train this morning. You don't have a choice to go for that run. Like, who gives a shit, right? Like, let's go.
That's kind of what my thought process was behind it, you know, because Memphis was asking me about doing the ring or the whatever, the whoop and all the other stuff. I'm like, dude, I mean, I guess it's kind of cool, but it's also completely pointless. Like, you could sleep great. Awesome. You could sleep like shit. Doesn't matter. Like, to your point, either way, you're going to have to go get the job done. You're going to have to go work out. That's just, it doesn't matter if you sleep good or not.
it was a good point for me to realize like how much like to target when I went to bed, when I woke up. Like it gave me a really good baseline of what my target should be, whether I hit that or not. Like that was up to me. You also can't like, you wake up to piss and then your mind's going absolutely crazy in the middle of the night. That happens, right? So,
Right.
um, but it is. I mean, it's right. There's a job to be done. Like Coach McDermott in Buffalo, like just because I had two kids at home that were up screaming up all night and changing diapers and giving bottles, like I had to come produce on Sunday, or he's going to find somebody else. So it was like, hey, yeah, I know I slept like shit. I got to overcome how bad I slept
Right.
last night, and that's the mindset. I mean, that's a big piece. Joe, talk about like the balance of like injury prevention, performance enhancement, and all that stuff. I mean, it's like best ability is availability, but I mean, all athletes are different.
Yeah, I mean, I think good quality training that's organized well incorporates all that.
Mhm.
Like a lot of our pre-workout stuff is all injury prevention. That's also warm up. That's also activation, right? And then you get into your field work, your training, your athletic. A lot of that stuff is also um, pre-activity prep in regards to warming up, getting the body moving correctly, and then to me the most important thing is when you ask the body to do something very taxing like a max effort sprint or a max effort lift or whatever, you just got to make sure that you prepared them well for that given
Mhm.
training session. And at the end of the day, when the training session's over, you do some form of recovery, right? Like as part of the training session. So, for us, our 2 hours, there's probably, I don't know, give or take 15, 20 minutes of that. That's, warm up slash post workout recovery, whether it's a flush, whether it's, light static stretching to calm the central nervous system down or whatever it is. Like it has to be present. We have an off day today and we'll have our whole roster that comes in today that gets soft tissue work, mobility, some static flexibility, get some blood flow going, move around. And I tell these guys like I don't prescribe uh, a training program that allows for a lot of extra. In
Mhm.
that the 4 days that I ask you to go, you better be ready to go. And anything outside of that, it'd be nice if we communicated about it, because you always get that one guy that's like, well, I need to do more field work and this and that. And it's like, well, man, we got
Yeah.
200 we got 200 days,
Juice head or juice man. Well, remember Blake
Blake
Baxley?
Blake
Baxley,
Baxley, he was my GA.
No, was he really?
Yeah, at South Carolina, he was my GA. Yeah.
Holy shit.
Yeah, he was there for a while and then he slept in too many times and we had to move on.
Coach, did you? I heard you mention flush. Is that the hot tub or hot cold, hot cold?
That is one method to it. We'll do like 2 minutes legs up and let gravity do it
Okay.
at the end of a workout. But
What's the heavy foam roll thing? What's that called?
body tempering, yeah, we have a bunch of those. Yep, we do. They're out
Two
right
hundred
now.
pound like freaking
80,
foam
100,
roller.
120. Yep,
Yeah,
it's
just
painful.
smoked your back half.
Good soft tissue work is painful. Like if you ever got the massage where you got it feels like a butterfly's landing on you, that's not getting much done.
Yeah.
You got to get in there and sort of manipulate some tissues and
I
iron
mean,
some things out.
it is crazy though. Like, I mean, I can speak on our time and how the game's evolved, but like there weren't many like because we worked so hard during those 4 days that we were with you guys. Like there weren't many of us that were coming back up to the facility to get extra work. There were the DJ Swearingers, there were the TJ Johnsons, but like when we wanted to get away, we needed to get away. We needed like work-life balance while we were in college,
100%.
aka 5 points. But it was, I mean, it was now. I mean, I remember when Steven and I. Steven was in town 2 weeks ago, and we recorded with Travian over at the football ops building. I went in and I worked out that day, and there were on Saturday morning at like 9:00, there were like 50 guys in there. And like, I looked at them and like, I didn't say it, but I wanted to. I'm like, what the hell are you guys doing? You're supposed to be hungover right now. You're supposed to be hungover. Like, you're supposed to be enjoying it's January. You're supposed to be enjoying college and being a college athlete. Like, there's a time for the business point when you get to the NFL. But I think that it's just because sports performance has become such a thing. It's normalized. Also involved in that, like, I run 5Ks. Like, I don't sprint anymore, and I ran hundreds that day, and my freaking hamstring for like the next 2 weeks was on fire. There's something if you don't open up and sprint.
Yeah.
Granted, my sprint's like just a faster jog now, but it hurt.
I saw a statistic, I don't know, maybe earlier this year, last year, that said that after the age of 25, 98% of human beings no longer sprint. And
That's wild.
one of like the most important things for longevity is to have the capability to sprint if needed.
Yep.
Just to your point about like, and sprints relative, right? There's a range, like, you know, an 80-year-old that sprints is different than a 30-year-old that sprints, but to actually like open up and run, it's interesting. You know, it doesn't happen all that often for a lot of folks.
Yep.
Trying to think, the only time I ever sprint is, you know, when I'm running routes for these guys in the
Right. Well, you're
backyard.
still doing it
But I
though,
mean,
you know.
yeah, like I mean, for an hour and a half, 2 hours, 4 days a week, I'm still getting some sprints in.
Yep.
Sure.
And then as soon as that's done, I crack open a cold beer.
Then I sprint to the cooler.
Yeah.
That's right.
You earned it. You earned it.
Oh shit, Coach, man, I still got to get my ass out there to Tempe, man.
You're always welcome. You know that. I've told you that 100 times. You know,
Would-
I've been here 8 years now, and I still haven't seen you out here.
I know, man. Are you guys doing like a quarterback camp?
I don't know. I don't think we've come out with the dates for camp just yet. I know we're doing a strength and conditioning clinic, but I think those dates will come out. Obviously, it's the 20-day window in June,
Right.
where we'll have, you know, all that stuff going on, plus training, plus 7-on-7, plus O-line, D-line. But I would imagine that Coach Arroyo and Coach Dillingham would do some form of quarterback related clinic.
Okay. Yeah, I think that'd be awesome to bring Memphis' ass out there. That's the excuse, man. I can't just go out there solo.
Yeah.
You get yourself in trouble in Old Town, buddy. I know it. I know it.
I've heard.
Bring your golf club. Some of the best golf in the United States is out there in Scottsdale.
Debo's out here too.
Yep.
He's been out here quite a bit. I think it was last summer I talked to him because he's
an Exos guy, right? He trains at Exos.
Yeah. Yeah, it's right up the street here. It used to be on ASU's campus, and then they moved to North Phoenix.
Talk about like some of the mindsets and like mental toughness training. Like, is that something? I know it's something that some people offer. I mean, I feel like we didn't really have that when we played. It was more when we were working with you guys. That's when we developed that stuff. Is that still kind of your motto, or do y'all have some sort of application or something for that?
Both, actually. So, yes, I think it's still very much present in our training. We had a team run yesterday, and there was a little bit of that going on. You know, the challenge, you know, why can you do it on the first one and you can't do it on the fifth one? And then, you know, why can we do it on the last one when I say everybody's got to make this one, right? Like I used to
hate that because I was a balls in the walls guy.
Yes.
And then like I'd be finishing the top 5, and then the last rep, I'm like pulling up the end of the back. I'm like, you sharkers, I've been slacking.
Yeah. You know, that, and that's like a simple example, but that to me is mindset, mentality, culture training right there. And in the weight room, same thing. And then we also have sports psychiatrists, psychologists available. We had a guy now who was with the Diamondbacks for a while. He's worked professional golfers. He's worked in a lot of professional sports. So he helps those guys with visualization and mindset training and confidence building and process, right? Like, all right, what's your day look like? How does your process help your confidence in being prepared for the training session or the practice or whatever it is. And we try to help facilitate that as much as we can too. I think that's paramount. You have to use every resource that's available in today's day and age for these guys. To your point about guys coming in on a Saturday, there's just more tools that are available in the
No
toolbox than
doubt.
there used to be, and that takes more time. And now, these guys are getting paid to do it. So
They expect you to, yeah.
you kind of are a pro at the end of the day. Like there's money on the line for everybody. And at the end of the day, like a high tide raises all boats. Like that's how it works. And then on top of that, the culture and the ownership within your program and within your locker room. Like I don't have to tell these guys to come in. Our leaders tell these guys to come in, and they make sure everybody's there. And they tell me, "Oh, so and so didn't make it today." And I'm like, "Oh, okay. What are you going to do about it?" And he's like, "Oh, we'll get them." It's part of the culture that's been created here. But to your point, there's so many different tools. It's just how does it fit within your structure as an individual, within your schedule as an individual on a given day. I spend a lot of time with our juniors and seniors doing that. I educate the younger guys on it, but they're still young and they're still, going through their process. But to me, that's the one thing that's the most low hanging fruit, that a guy that's coming back that, has NFL aspirations, like what can he change? Well, man, let's look at your day. What does it look like? When do you go to sleep? When you get up, is your cell phone next to your bed?
Right.
What do you have for breakfast? All right. How early do you get up? Do you go to bed at the same time every night? Do you get up at the same time, even on the weekends, right? Like what's your soft tissue schedule look like? When are you getting dry needling? When are you doing cryo? When are you doing contrast? What are you getting IVs? Half our team has NIL deals with mobile vitamin IV companies. I mean, being in the Valley, there's so many resources. This is kind of the mecca for sort of longevity, health, and wellness. And what does your supplement, regime look like? Like, what are you doing? When are you taking it? Are you taking vitamin D? Are you taking creatine? What time are you taking it? When's the optimal time to do that stuff? All that stuff we now know it does make a big difference,
And that never even entered our thought process when we were in college.
No, we would tell y'all to take creatine, but it wasn't like so readily available,
Right.
Creatine's is the easiest supplement to take that will help in so many different regards, from a neuro, recovery, strength, mass. I mean,
They give it to
across the
people
board.
for concussions, post-concussion protocol, vitamin D, EPA, DHA, and fish oil and creatine. I would, if my, grandmother was still alive, I would tell her to take creatine for the cognitive effects. I mean, there's so much more information available. And because of social media, these guys are pretty educated in a lot of this stuff, and they see it's a lot of what I do is to help them sift through the bullshit that's out there too, like the flash in the pan, like, hey, this is this new fandangled thing. What do you think? And I'm like, well, let's look at it. Let's analyze this a little bit. Like, this guy's doing this. Let me do a little background research. Like, no, man, he's just trying to make a buck or whatever. And in a year
100%.
he'll be gone. Like, a lot of that stuff is still, it's so much more available now.
Let's talk here about what we used to do on Fridays before games. You would make us sweat out all the alcohol we drank on Thursdays. We would be forced to come in and do our recovery tubs. And I remember you sitting there a few times when Steven and Co and myself were sitting in there, and you're like, did you guys just leave the bar, or like, what's the deal? Because like, you guys smell it's coming out of you fresh.
I have been blessed with an absolutely elite sense of smell and a sense of, and I have a great palate as well. So it's not just the sense of smell, but I can literally tell a lot of times once a guy starts sweating, not only if he drank last night, but what he drank last night. And it's a gift and a curse at the end of the day. And especially when you're changing diapers nowadays. But
God.
it's, yeah, I mean, I think it's really important, right? Like if that's what your Thursday night looked like, man, you better get that stuff out of you before Saturday. And we all know 72 hours is about as long as it takes to kind of get the system back. So you guys were rolling around at 85% a lot of times, I think. And you did pretty well for yourselves at 85, but
That's why I didn't score so many touchdowns.
yeah. But it's a different time. It was a different deal.
I tell people all the time, I didn't want to drink. I had to drink to deal with Coach Spurrier. I had to do it. I didn't want to. I had to.
Now,
But man,
what's your excuse now?
now I want to.
Now you want to, yeah. Well, it's certainly. I saw something yesterday on social media that talked about the different generations of people and their alcohol consumption, and this current generation, whatever they're called,
They're not
drink.
drinking it up.
They don't drink.
They're
Not
doing
very much.
they're doing THC like edibles, and some people send me some stuff all the time. THC like RTDs, canned drinks. Yeah, nobody's drinking beer. I mean, we talked with the people at Steel Hands, Pat and I did. I think this was after you left, but they were saying that at Steel Hands Brew, they're like, yeah, like just nobody's drinking beer. Like this current age group of college, students are just not drinking.
So they're probably into something else that we don't even know about at this point in our lives.
Yeah. I'm good with just the cold beer.
Yeah.
All right, boys and girls. It's March Madness time. It's arguably the best time of the sports year. So no other place better than our new sponsor, Underdogs Fantasy. I mean, daily fantasy. You can go higher, lower on points scored, points per game, the whole operation. Use code Tailgate Talks for up to $1,000 in bonus cash. It's kind of a no-brainer. Why the hell would you not do it? So, Pat, who you got winning the March Madness?
Oh boy,
Have you filled the bracket out?
I did two. I took Auburn to win it in one, and then Alabama to win it the other. So I'm a state of Alabama fan, but they could both lose in the first round. March Madness, let the madness begin.
Absolutely. I got Duke winning one, and I got Kentucky. I take Kentucky every year. Kentucky win another one. So let's see what happens. But yeah, use Tailgate Talks as the code for Underdogs Fantasy. Get up to $1,000 of bonus cash. There's no better time than the sports freaking year to do it right now.
Listen up, Gamecock Nation. Meet your new favorite streamer, Deputy Smitty. A former police officer and diehard South Carolina Gamecock fan, Deputy Smitty brings action-packed content to life every night on Twitch starting at 9:30 p.m. Connect with him on social media by searching Deputy Smitty and join his growing community on Discord at discord.gg/Deputy Smitty. So grab a drink and catch the thrills, laughs, and plenty of Gamecock pride in every stream.
What's up, Gamecock fans? When you're getting ready to cheer on the Garnet and Black, get fired up with White Hot Cinnamon Whiskey out of Hollow Creek Distillery. With only 3 all-natural ingredients and 1/3 less sugar than other similar brands, it's sure to be a touchdown at your next tailgate. Ask for White Hot Cinnamon Whiskey at your favorite spirits provider, and be sure to visit their award-winning Hollow Creek Distillery over in Leesville, South Carolina. Go Gamecocks.
Give kind of like finalizing up here, but like give some free advice to some of our listeners of parents that are, their kids could potentially be recruits, of just some advice that you see from some of the recruits that come in there, parents that are overbearing, parents that are too hands off.
Yeah.
Kind of just because you talk to all the parents, you're like vital in the recruiting process.
Mm-hmm. I think the biggest thing I see in my world is that number one is the early specificity. So not having a really broad background in a bunch of different sports.
Yep, that's what we talk about that all the time.
And really what it allows, like having that broad background is really just movement, right? Mm-hmm. It's asking your body to do certain things at certain times in a lot of different ways. And then you're just creating a bigger range for what you're accustomed to and what you're capable of. If you play 3 sports in high school, you're getting every pretty much movement quality and characteristic you can think of. Yep. The other thing that I see a ton is that they'll have, a young athlete will be, a senior in high school, and he's already he's already locked into being a quarterback, for example, right? And he's got a throw coach, he's got a speed coach, he's got a strength coach, he's got a recovery place he goes to, and none of those coaches are talking to each other.
Right.
Yep.
You're pulling conflicting levers essentially.
Yeah.
And then also like downtime, like it's something we go through here, like early off season, especially if you're a quarterback, think about it, you threw 300 balls a day, 4 or 5 days a week for 5 months,
Right.
and you want to jump right back into a throwing program. Like let's chill out for a second. It's not going to go away. Like take a month off and let's worry about getting strong again and getting our, everything aligned again. Just that asymmetries of that constant one-dimensional movement. We got to work the other side of that. So, and that goes for any position. I think if you're a young parent or a parent with a high school age athlete, and your son or daughter is going to multiple coaches, and those coaches aren't talking about what their goal is, and they're just trying to make them work hard in a given instance, that may be something to consider, because to me, that's a really good recipe to get a young athlete hurt.
Yep.
If they go to their strength coach in the morning and they squat, they do a lower body training day, and then they go to their sprint coach in the afternoon, that's a recipe for disaster.
Yeah.
You're gonna pull a hamstring, you're gonna pull a quad, you're gonna have a soft tissue injury, and the alignment of how things go. You always want to move fast before you move slow. Like that's like strength and conditioning, exercise phys 101. And I think that having too many things present at a given time, meaning like too many stimulus, like the throwing, the sprinting, the training, the lifting, the all that stuff at a given time, is not necessarily the best thing in the world.
No, I think you hit the nail on the head. And oftentimes, in my experience, a lot of the strength, the speed, the recovery, the position specific, a lot of those guys don't like each other because
Right.
they're like, oh, you're busy over there, like you should be throwing with me, or it's these, it's wild.
Yeah.
Exactly,
It's a money
exactly,
game. You
exactly. And it's like, dude, you don't need to be throwing 5 days a week with me. Take your ass to somebody else. Go swim. Go play. Go do something.
Yeah.
But get the hell.
I
Don't show up here.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, your big thing that I'm taking from both of you is just like true athletic development, playing a bunch of sports, learning a bunch of movement
100%.
patterns, and also like focusing on the foundation, like your powerhouse, your core, your triple extension movements, sprinting, like all that stuff. Like if you're good at all that, you're going to throw a baseball harder. You're going to hit a baseball farther. Your coordination is going to be better. I mean, all that stuff just goes hand in hand into becoming a good athlete. And if you're a good athlete, you're going to be good at most sports. I got a funny story from time in Buffalo. Micah Hyde used to do a celebrity softball game, and he'd do it at the minor league stadium there in Buffalo. And you'd be amazed. I mean, some of the greatest athletes in the world, from running, jumping, watching them try to hit a softball, or watching them swing a baseball bat, watching them try to field a ground ball. Like, we had a receiver that he's our number one receiver, and hit a pop fly to him in the outfield, and he couldn't catch it. You're like, whoa! Like, how does a punt returner not know how to track a pop fly in the air? And that all goes back to the youth sports and playing those youth sports and developing those skills. You don't lose them. I mean, you give my dad a basketball. My dad's in his 60s now. You give him a basketball, he can still shoot it.
Yeah,
he's just like, that's what he did as a kid.
Right.
So I think that stuff's crazy important.
Well, I mean, every single person we've had on our show has said the exact same thing.
Yeah.
Every single one. Melvin, DJ, all these guys have all said, I grew up and I played almost every single sport I could.
Mm-hmm.
So
it makes a big difference. And I think the other thing that's trendy now too is that what a lot of private sector coaches do in the world of performance now is they utilize power, like training for power. So the jumps, all the quick stuff, right? Like, and you guys know this, like having a strong foundation in strength will take that capability from that conversion of strength to power and push that way higher. So a lot of young athletes that we get now like to jump and run fast and rest long, and they like to do the easy stuff. And then when we get them, we're like, man, you are weak as a kitten, or weak as a wet fart in an astronaut suit, right?
Yep.
Whatever you want to say it, but they're weak. And I'm going through that right now with one of our young athletes. He's like, when are we going to start training power? I'm like, well, you are weak as a kitten. Like, you can't.
Yeah.
I'm not training power till you have a foundation in
Right.
strength.
That's how you get hurt.
Then your ability to produce power will be exponentially better. So, a lot of people move away from that because number one, they don't know how to coach it. Number two, it's too hard and they don't want to have the athlete not come back and train with them.
Yep.
And number three, the athlete doesn't want to do it because it's too hard. It's too challenging, right? And to me, those are all the wrong answers.
100%.
Well, last thing, brag on your wife Shalana and your daughter Callie and son Cade and kind of. I mean, you guys were. What year did you guys get married? Were you married during your time here at Carolina?
So we got married in 2009. So I dragged her.
Yeah,
I dragged her across the country.
Stops.
Yeah, and dragged her to Kentucky, and then dragged her to South Carolina. And I figured, 3 states I ought to. So we got engaged in Charleston and got married down in St. Thomas, in the Caribbean, and a small little wedding. It was great, and obviously we were married for a long, long time before we had kids. Callie's 3.5. Cade is 1.5 now.
And, you're in the thick of it.
I took Callie to school this morning on my light morning, so it's a different world. I used to say that I always felt like it would have been really hard to be a dad and be a strength coach because you have essentially, in our world, 120 sons, and it was initially definitely a challenge. We didn't have, our kids till we got out here, and it certainly was a challenge. My sleep score wasn't great. It's still not great.
Yeah.
And
those little jokers will ruin your sleep score.
Well, our running back coach, Sean Aguano, he's got 5 kids, and he was like, listen, he's like, if you guys have 1 kid, it doesn't matter whether you have 1 or you have 5, you're not going to sleep again for 18 years. And I'm like, all right, well, that's the expectation essentially. But no, Shalana is, she's the foundation of her family. She runs the home front and the household and the finances and she sent me a picture of a flange on a toilet yesterday while I was at work, and I'm like, man, I wish I was there. She's like, well, you're not. And what the hell do you want me to do about this? Because the plumber's about ready to charge us $3,000 for this. I'm like, man, you can get that at Home Depot for $120. Like, what are we doing? And so it's she kind of runs the deal, and she's a savage. She's an RD. She's a registered dietitian, and
she's a badass too. I remember her training at Williams-Brice Stadium back then.
She was a state champion powerlifter in the 105 weight class. A little Mighty Mouse, and she's a runner. She just had her knee cleaned out actually probably a month ago, and so she's kind of dealing with the rehab for that. But I'm sitting next to her last night, and I'm reading in bed, and she's got her Normatex on, and she's got a red light therapy there, and she it's 9 o'clock at night. I'm like, you're out of your mind. What do you want me to do? You want me to just not recover? Like, I have to recover, So she's dialed in with that, and she's the best, man. I actually got to go this afternoon to try to figure out what I'm going to get her for Valentine's Day. So
yeah,
are you guys done with having kids?
Yeah, no, we're done. 42. I don't think she could. She's 40. I'm 42. I don't think she's willing to go through that 9 months again. And actually, our son Cade, it was a little wild. So he was breech, and she had Callie. She had Callie all natural. She was no drugs, no nothing. She actually. She gave
Beast.
birth to Callie standing up, holding on to the handicap rail in the bathroom, and I caught her. And
Holy shit.
it was like one of the coolest experiences. And then with Cade, the plan was to do the same thing because Shalana was back like the next day. She's like, I'm good. Like she was walking around, like no problem. And then with Cade, he was breech, and we tried this technique of flipping him, and it was it was scary. It was scary stuff. And so fast forward, we ended up having to do a kind of an emergency C-section, and come to find out the umbilical cord was wrapped around his neck, and he never would have survived. He never would have survived, childbirth. And thank God for modern medicine. But the C-section, that was a tough one. That took it out of her a little bit. They cut through 7 or 8 layers of tissue, and she's got numbness and all sorts of different stuff. And we got Cade. He's growing and he's doing awesome. But it took her a year, to kind of bounce back from that. And
that's
I don't know how they do it.
I'll tell you, man, it's crazy. Scarlett was breached, and they kept trying to tell us like, oh, you can get a chiropractor and we can kind of move. I was like, absolutely not. We're not we're not doing that. Absolutely not. You can tweak something like that.
Shalana was I was holding her upside down. We had an inversion table. She had like these weird, like, I don't know where the hell she heard this, but it was she went to like every freaking doctor you could think of. She was burning incense next to her toes. I mean, like all sorts of, like, I'm serious. Like I would come home and the house would smell like shit. I'm like, what is that? She's like, oh,
which wacko doctor did you meet with today? Right?
Yeah. She's like, it's like hogwort tree, whatever. And it's supposed to help the baby flip. I'm like, so it took a lot out of her. Cause she's an obsessive person there where she's going to do something. She's going to do it more than anybody, and that was rough, but it was, it all kind of worked out.
Yeah. And I say all the time that, like, I've always been a believer, but like watching Kirsten go through childbirth and watch everything that had to happen for Weston to be formed in this perfect space. There's no other explanation besides God. And we have 4, and it's just absolute sheer chaos. Kirsten had 4 C-sections because Weston was breached, first one, and then they said there's, we can't have normal. You could potentially rupture and all that good stuff. They're going to have to edit all this. But no, it's fascinating. But cool. Well, Joe, appreciate you taking the time today. You're the man. We appreciate you. You helped build a really foundation of a program here at South Carolina during your time. And we're still romping and rolling here, and you've been a part of the culture change out there at Arizona State. You guys are the gold standard of what a program needs to look like now. And your friendship and your support throughout the years has been incredible. Not only did you coach us, but you're a friend of ours. And we really appreciate you.
No, man, I can't thank you guys enough, man. You guys probably taught me more than what I taught you. So it's an honor to be on with you guys. And I was so fired up when Steven reached out, and just to catch up, man.
No
we
doubt.
barely scratched the surface. At the end of the day,
there might be an episode 2 that we're going to need it here in another year or so.
I'm gonna have to start taking notes because there's just too many. It's so much, it's so much. Like after the Alabama game, when I was driving to work the next day and I saw Steven in the back of a pickup truck doing a keg stand driving down the street. Like, I can go all day.
Shit. Man. Hey, it's Sunday fun day. Always.
Listen, you deserved it after that one. You shitting me?
Yeah.
That was it. We were all there when Sandstorm was created against Ole Miss.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
Like, you remember that? Like I remember looking around going,
we got something here.
What the hell just happened? Like this could be something. And then sure enough,
I'm getting goosebumps just thinking about that. That was
how many years later? Like it's still going, and it's you guys did it. At the end of the day, it was a program that was sort of messing around in mediocrity till you guys changed it,
Yeah.
in 2010, and we rode it out there for a few years, and now Shane's got it back going again, Coach Beamer, and he's got all those guys back with Trey, and it's so good, man.
Yeah, I mean it's been a hell of a ride. I mean, that's for sure. From meeting Steven my first day on campus, my mom being like, "Whoa, what did we just sign up for?" And all the memories and the relationships that we built. I mean, I couldn't have written my story better. And a lot of that's in thanks to Steven and the memories that we had and the friendships that we've created, but also the work that you and Coach Fitz and Black Iron and you guys put us through, and you guys put us through hell, but we made it out on the other end and are better because of it.
No, man, you guys were willing to do it. That's the thing. Willing or not, you did it, and it was a fun time, man. It was a fun time.
Absolutely. Well, I'm coming out there, damn it.
Come on,
I know
man.
I keep saying it. I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna bring Memphis out there.
Cliff was saying the same thing. I'm waiting for the day, right? Like, you're just gonna show up in the weight room and I'll be like, all right, let's figure this thing out.
601, you're not allowed.
I'm here, man.
Any weight room I'm in, you guys are always welcome. You know that. So
let's go.
Absolutely.
Well, I'm not going to move much weight, and I'm not going to move very fast. Still can't do that, but I do like to get after it still. So I'll have to take you up on it. I'll plan a golf trip out to Scottsdale and take you up on the offer, and we can drink a couple cold beers together.
Yeah, we got some good deals at some places around here, so I'll set you up.
Yeah, we definitely do that.
Incredible.
Absolutely.
Golf is not cheap in Scottsdale.
Well, it is not in the winter. In the summertime, you can get out there for free. You just gotta, bring a gallon of water with you.
Yeah.
Well, cool, man. Well, hey, Coach, send me Scadabo's number. I'm gonna try to link up with him while he's down here.
I will.
See where he's working out at. Cool.
All right, boys. Appreciate you, Coach. Appreciate it.
You, Coach.
See you guys, man.